Welcome to Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association. Speakernomics is a podcast where you'll learn to speak, get paid, repeat.
Welcome to another episode of Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association. This is the podcast about becoming a better speaker and building a better business. And coming up soon in November 5th and 6th, is the new online digital conference called Activate. And that is where you can activate your digital edge. This conference is focused on a digital-first world. Whether you're looking to improve your delivery online, launch a digital product, or build a business that doesn't always require you being there in the room, Activate is the place to be, and it will give you the strategies to go and take action. And today's guest on Speakernomics is one of the presenters at the Activate conference, and that is Carolyn Cummins. Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're really excited to have you here. And at Activate, she is going to talk about the modern speaker's playbook to build a smart, streamlined, and strategic digital presence. And for all of us, no matter what level of speaker we are, or certainly our level of social media and online, being smart, streamlined, and strategic is really important. So for those of you who don't know Carolyn, she helps small businesses and solopreneurs how to figure out their digital marketing plan and how to do it without totally freaking out, stressing out, and being worried about it. She wants to help you be strategic and smart about it. She is the president-elect of the Austin chapter of NSA, and she's one of these few and proud second-generation speakers. Her dad is a longtime member of the National Speakers Association, and she didn't think she was going to be a speaker, but her dad always saw something in her. Now, she spends most of her time as a social media and digital marketing coach, and her company is called Santosha, which means contentment. And I really like that. And I think she's going to bring a lot of that contentment and joy to her presentation at Activate. So let's jump in and learn a little bit about Carolyn and what she's going to talk about. So Carolyn, I kind of touched on it. You didn't say, hey, I'm going to be a speaker. How did you end up in NSA?
It really all happened because of 2020 and the need to go all online for content. And my local chamber asked me to do a presentation. And then from there, it sort of snowballed into doing more and more presentations for chambers and then SCORE. And I thought, okay, I'm now speaking. I feel like I need to be around speakers. And so I had already been to a number of NSA Austin member events with my dad. And so I thought, I'm going to join and be around people that are professionally speaking to elevate my speaking.
Nice. Well, that's what NSA is all about, right? We're here to teach you how to be a better speaker and how to build a better business. So
Yes.
Coming up soon is this brand new digital conference. I'm really excited about it. It's not only an online conference, it's focused about the work that we do as speakers in the online world. And you're going to talk about this modern speaker's playbook, how to build that smart, streamlined, and strategic digital presence. So when we think about that, what are 2 tips you have for all speakers when they're thinking about their digital presence?
Great question. So tip number 1, focus on 2 key points, your target audience and your content pillars. And then tip number 2, always measure your content against what I call the visibility triangle.
Ooh, I want to learn all about both of those things. What are these content pillars and this visibility triangle? So let's start with the first one. Focus on your audience and your content pillars. So what do you mean by that?
So often we think we only have one audience, and we really have many audiences. So in the speaker world, when you're trying to write content, whether it's for your newsletter, your website, or a social media post, think about who it is that you're talking to. That could be a bureau, an agent, an event planner, or a one-on-one client or participant. And so consider who you're speaking to craft your message the right way, using their language. And then your content pillars are really what it is that you speak about. What are your values? What is it that you are trying to achieve? what do you speak on at any particular time? And you're going to use those two things, your audience and your content pillars, to decide how you're going to talk about things in the sphere of the digital world.
So it's interesting thinking of that first part of this, just about we have many audiences. I think sometimes speakers forget that, right? We have the audience that we usually speak to, but we have to sell to the bureau or we have to sell to the client. Then we have the people. We have just our friends who see us on social media. How do we start to identify who are our many audiences?
Well, I have a worksheet for that we're going to talk about at the session, the Activate session. But ideally, you're going to think about who it is that you're trying to attract. Are you trying to attract bureaus and agents? Are you trying to attract event planners one-on-one? Are you trying to attract associations or organizations on your own? Are you trying to attract coaching clients, one-on-one participants, depending on if you're selling a keynote, a workshop, books? So all of those different factors really help you to distill down who your target audience is at any particular time.
Now, but when we have a lot of audiences, let's say we're using LinkedIn. A lot of those sub audiences of mine are on LinkedIn. So some people get a little scared. They don't want to post things that are like not directly to what their topic is because they don't want to use the language that's geared towards a bureau one day and language that is geared towards an association another day or whatever. Is there some brand confusion that happens, or how do we make sure that there's consistency all at the same time?
It's a great question. You do want consistency. You want clarity. So you want to know what it is that you're talking about and who you're talking to. You want to be consistent in your messaging and post on a regular basis. And then you want to work on that connection. But the connection only comes when you're writing directly to the particular audience. And so, yes, one post might be directed to a bureau or an agent or an event planner, but that language and that particular post is not going to be appropriate for a different type of, maybe you're doing a one-on-one coach for coaching or a facilitation. And so those would be different, and the massaging of that language is really important when you're trying to make that connection with this invisible digital audience.
So one of the things I've found, because I have lots of audiences, and then I also run a local nonprofit technology organization in Austin. So I have my one world where I'm the CEO of the Austin Technology Council, and I have my other hat where I'm a pretty active professional speaker. And when I say pretty active, I'm really happy because the pandemic, I wasn't really active for a while, but it's back. And so I have both of those worlds. And I was counseled by some people who aren't as smart as you, but they were like, oh, that's going to cause brand confusion because you're talking about things that are very different. What I've discovered over the last few years is it's the opposite. My experience and my reputation as a speaker actually draws in some of the local technology community. They're interested in what I'm talking about. Plus, my topic about building community and human interaction goes directly to what a nonprofit, business group does. But they don't have a problem with it. And the flip side is when I'm talking about the technology organization and things that are going on in the local community, I find that my meeting planners and other people I work with are interested in that too. So what is your thought if people have like maybe different topics, or maybe they have a full-time job and they speak? How can they make sure that they're not scared and therefore don't post at all?
So I would take those two things or multiple things, because sometimes people have more than two. You want to work on distilling each one of those down to the commonality of what that is, and then focus on talking about those things. So when you're talking about the technology council, you have speakers, you have events that lends itself naturally to being of interest to event planners or other speakers. If you are talking about technology and speakers, you might have a speaker that talks about technology that would be very compatible. So you're not trying to reach everybody in any given time. You are going to have some people that say, "Oh, that wasn't the right post for me," and they're going to swipe through. But that's okay, because you don't need that person. You only need the people that are interested in the content that you're posting. And the more clear you are and the more drilled down you are to that content, the more the right person is going to see it, because you don't
Nice.
need 200 people to see it. You just need one qualified person to see it.
Right. And then the other thing that I do is if I'm writing something about my speaking career, sometimes on a LinkedIn post or other social media, I'll throw in like a line that this is true also in what I find in working with the Technology Council. And I'll give an example and then I'll go back to the speaker thing. And therefore, it weaves both audiences in without effort, sort of.
Yes, absolutely. And all of those keywords matter, and particularly for LinkedIn, but all of the platforms are doing that now. They're focusing on specific words that you're using in your content rather than through a hashtag or some other sort of ancillary thing that we used to be doing on social media.
So if we have certain words that tie into our overall business, we should make sure we're using those words regularly so the algorithm learns that we're an expert on human interaction, networking, and community building.
Yes. And if you can't put it in the post, then put it in the alt text for the photo that you're using or whatever media you're using. And that will help to get those keywords in.
Ooh, that's really, really good advice. I don't think that I think too often about using the alt text for photos within
You
my
can consider
LinkedIn
that tip
posts.
3.
Yeah, well, tip 3, that's great. That's great. The other thing before we move to the second tip is you were talking about, sort of your content pillars. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, but you were talking a little bit about knowing clearly what your topic is, what your values are, et cetera. Talk a little bit deeper about these content pillars and what you're going to talk about in your presentation.
So content pillars are really what any business owner should be talking about at any given time. And that is why you started your business and what problems you're trying to solve for people, and then what it is that you offer. And for a speaker, it's what you speak about, why you speak about that, and what it is that you're trying to achieve for people. And so the key is to understand why you do what you do. And it isn't because you have an expertise in something. That's not why you actually speak about what you speak about. There's a deeper reason, and it's a heartfelt reason. And when you distill down and you ask enough questions to somebody, then you get down to why you're speaking about what it is that you're speaking about. And that's what people want to know, because that's the authenticity and the connection that they really resonate with when they go, that speaks to me. I want to hire you to come and speak at my event. And so you need to understand your content pillars so that you know what you're going to speak about and then your audience, who you're going to speak to.
Nice. So let's move on to that second tip. And that is about measuring all of your content against the visibility triangle. What is the visibility triangle? I'm all excited.
So the visibility triangle, really, you measure all your content against it. Visibility, credibility, and hireability. So is your content, whether that's a newsletter on your website or a social media post, applies to all digital platforms. Are you doing something? Are you writing something that's going to help you to be more visible? Is it helping you gain awareness? Is it worthy content? And then credibility. Is it helping you to profess your expertise in a particular area on what it is that you speak about? And hireability. Is it helping you to actually move the needle to getting people to book you, to click on your links, to inquire about more information? And if whatever you're thinking about doing doesn't check one of those boxes, then it doesn't need to be posted on your business page, because this is a business. And so you want to make sure that everything that you do is very intentional and that you have that clarity so that you can write valuable content that somebody's going to look at. Because the worst thing is to spend time working on a post or working on a newsletter and then having nobody pay attention to it, and it doesn't feel good. And so set yourself up for success and write clear messaging that meets one of those sides of the triangle.
So I love this. I love this concept of this visibility triangle, because as a speaker, we often think about, oh, we need the visibility. Because at the end of the day, if you don't make the short list, if they're going to interview 3 speakers that they're going to pick to speak at their conference, and you're not one of the 3, what are your chances of getting the business? Well, your chances are 0. So you've got to have that visibility so that you're being referred and, they're finding you on Google or however they're picking the 3 they're going to interview. You got to have that visibility to get there. Second one is credibility. And I think hopefully that goes a little bit without saying for those of us who are taking the stage, that we have credibility to be there and that we are an expert on our topic. But then hireability, that's the one that really kind of stood out to me, is that how often are we thinking about hireability? So let's dig a little deeper. What do you mean by hireability, and how can speakers latch onto that?
So what is it that you're posting? So a lot of people, if you look through social media in the business posts, are just posting information. They're just sharing information, or they're being too salesy. Hire me for this, or I'm perfect for this. And you want to weave in that notion differently. So just as an example, I've seen a number of posts of yours where you're traveling, right? You speak all over the world. And so that does a couple of different things, right? That helps you with visibility because it seems interesting and fun because you're going to different places, but also you're talking about speaking at these different events. And so that ties into the hireability because it shows, without saying hire me, it shows that you're available to speak at these amazing events really all over the world. And so you're using that, what might not seem like a good post to share, but you're using a vacation or another event that you're doing someplace else as an opportunity to show your expertise and to help people understand that you are available to speak at other events. And the credibility part, just to go back to that, is not as obvious as one might think. Speakers might be an expert in what it is that they speak about, but they don't always tell other people that they're an expert. They leave it up to their website or other people, or sometimes I hear people go, "Well, I'm an expert. It's obvious that I know what I'm talking about. I don't need to say that on social media." Well, you do, because there's a whole sea of people that are an expert in your area. So what is distinguishing you from someone else? And you've got to put your name out there, and you have to be visible in order to be in those searches.
And you are right. I think that there is this fine line between braggy, hey, look at me, and talking about I was hired to speak for a major law firm in Chicago, because that tells other people, oh, my husband's a lawyer. They're having a
Mhm.
conference. And it's kind of hitting all three things if you do it the right way and you don't repel people by being too salesy, where it's visible, they see you, it's credible, it shows that you're doing the work. And three, it says, oh, he speaks for law firms, we could hire him. So I totally get what you're saying, but there was something you said earlier that I wrote down that I wanted to go back to. And that is, you said, make sure that it's worthy content. I see a lot of crap that people post that there's no I'm sure I do a lot of it too, but I'm hoping there's less of it than some other people. How do we judge if it's worthy?
So it has to meet one of the sides of the triangle, but also things like vacation photos in and of themselves that just talk about an amazing place that you went to is not what I would consider to be worthy of a business post. If you want to post that on your personal Facebook page, that's a completely different story. But you have to run a speaking business like a business and realize that everything that you do has to be very focused and very targeted towards your business goals. And if it's not, then it doesn't need to be on the page. From time to time, when you get to a level, you can do that. But for the most part, many of us just need to be seen. We need to profess our credibility and our expertise and our authority in a particular area. And then we need to actually show that we are, open for business and available to speak at different functions. And so the what I ate for lunch, and here's my favorite pet photo, those can all go on your personal content. And so if it doesn't meet the visibility, credibility, or hireability, I recommend not posting that or not sharing that in your content.
So here's a little controversial question. And I know before the interview, I said I won't have any controversial questions. What about people who post a lot where it's either on their personal or their business, but it's viewed by their business people, who post a lot about politics? They have one view or the other, and I'm not going to be judgy of which view that is, but they have one view or the other, and they constantly are hitting on that tied into their business presence in social.
I think that if you are being authentic to your true self and your true beliefs, your morals, ethics, and values, then put it out there. That's who you are, whatever it is. I don't have to agree with it, but at least I know who you are and what you stand for. And then as a consumer of that content, I can make a decision to either continue to see your content and possibly hire you, or I can say, you know what, you're an expert in your field, but you don't align with my values, so I'm going to go with somebody else. And that's okay, because then you know, as the person posting that content, that you probably didn't want that person anyway, right? So as long as it's not, you, you know, sort of on the far end and saying things that are, not good, you're
Hurt. Yeah. You
posting
don't
your
want to, no matter what your beliefs, you don't want to be hurtful.
right.
Yeah.
If it's not hurtful or damaging and you're just expressing your viewpoint, I think that people should be allowed to do that. And I don't think that we have to agree with them to, necessarily. I have many friends that I don't agree with, and I'm okay with that because there's, freedom of speech.
Right. I'm sort of the same way. I think there's, if we're hiring you to speak on an issue that touches politics, then maybe I want to align. If I'm hiring you to speak, about a topic that has nothing to do with politics, your politics probably don't matter to me. That's sort of my belief is,
Yes.
as long as people are respectful, I'm pretty good. And I actually loved your answer because I didn't know where you were going to go. I sort of blindsided you with that question, but I actually loved your answer because it aligns with my values. And that is be true to yourself and be authentic, and the right people will line up and find you in business. So
Sure.
last question, as we look to all of this visibility, and I'm trying to learn this too, and I know you're trying to learn it. We're all trying to figure out, how does AI play into all of this? And one of the things I've heard is that AI actually looks very closely at social media. So how do we take our social media to make sure that then we're being found by the AI when people are doing searches?
Oh, that's a great question. So AI is getting so much more sophisticated on a daily basis. It is improving faster than we can possibly comprehend it. And so that's an ever changing landscape. I would say that the best thing that someone can do is put out authentic content using good keywords and putting it out on as many platforms as you're able to do so consistently, and you'll get the best results. Don't focus so much on what the AI is doing or what the algorithm is doing. Um, just stay consistent and authentic, and the results will come. During the session, I will talk about how to use some AI prompts to help with the strategies and the ease of planning out your content. But it's really a tool. It's not going to take over what we're doing.
So I agree with you. And I think the last question that I have is, as we look to the session that you're going to do, why do people want to make sure that they come? What other little tidbit can you share that makes people say, when I'm logging into Activate, I'm making sure I'm watching Carolyn's session?
If your social media, your newsletters, and your website are not helping you to get more gigs, then you need to come to this session so that you understand how to formulate your content to show your best self.
Nice. Well, Carolyn Cummins, thank you so much for being a guest here on Speakernomics.
Thank you very much, Tom.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. You know what? Speakernomics is the official podcast of the National Speakers Association. And I tell people all the time, the real secret sauce to being a successful speaker is having a lot of speaker friends who are actually out there serving clients and working. And the National Speakers Association is the best place to build community. So make sure that you're not only an active member of your chapter of the national organization, but that you're also attending conferences, including Activate, which is coming up very soon. And we'll see you back here next week with another episode of Speakernomics.